Hello, and thanks for joining me. Before we get started, I wanted to ask you a simple question. Have you ever had one of those months where the phone just stopped ringing? Nothing changed. You were still doing great work. Your technicians were still showing up. Customers were happy. But suddenly, you found yourself buying more leads, running more ads, or hoping the phone would ring again. If you've been in business for any length of time, you've probably experienced that. And here's what I've realized after spending years working with home service businesses. Most contractors don't actually have a lead problem. They have an ownership problem. They're renting customers instead of owning them. Every Monday morning, they have to go back into the marketplace and buy another customer. Again and again and again. Today I want to show you a different way to think about marketing. A way that turns every completed job into something more valuable than a single invoice. A system where each customer helps create the next customer. Where your reputation grows, your visibility grows, your customer database grows, and over time, your business starts compounding instead of constantly starting over. That's what Stop Renting Customers is all about. Let's begin. To understand why this matters, we first have to look at how contractors actually grow. One of the reasons I wanted to put this presentation together is because I've had a front row seat to something that's been happening in your industry. For years, my business generated appliance repair leads. I built local websites. I've got them to show in the #1 position in Google. When someone searched online for appliance repair, or refrigerator repair, or washer repair, many of those calls came through my website. Eventually, I had more leads than I could even use. So instead of letting them go to waste, I started selling them. Some went directly to appliance repair companies. Others went to companies like Service Direct, eLocal, and other lead providers that many of you have already used yourself. Over the years, I've watched thousands of appliance repair leads move through the marketplace. And I noticed something. Some companies grew, some stayed exactly the same, and some even disappeared. It wasn't because one company had better technicians. It wasn't because one company worked harder. The biggest difference was this. The companies that continued growing were slowly building something they actually owned. Not just buying more leads. They were building assets, reviews, customer relationships, their Google business profile, their reputation, their customer database. Meanwhile, other companies had to wake up every Monday morning and buy another customer. Again and again and again. That's when I realized something. The biggest marketing problem isn't generating leads. It's depending on someone else to generate them forever. And that's why I believe there's a better way to think about growing a service business. So, what does that cycle actually look like? It usually starts with a slow week. The phone isn't ringing as much, so you buy more leads. Maybe it's HomeAdvisor, maybe it's Thumbtack, maybe it's Google Local Service ads, maybe it's another lead provider. The leads come in. You complete the repair. You collect the payment. And then you do it all over again. The next week, you need another lead. The next month, you need another lead. The next year, you're still buying another lead. At first, it doesn't seem like a problem because you're busy, you're making money. But underneath the surface, something else is happening. You're building someone else's business instead of building your own. Think about it this way. If you buy 10 leads today, how many leads do you have next month? 0. You have to buy them again. If you stop paying, the phone stops ringing. That's not an asset. That's a rental. And that's why I call this the lead dependency cycle. You're working hard. You're doing great repairs. Your customers are happy. But every completed repair disappears. Nothing from today's job makes tomorrow's customer easier to acquire. That's the cycle we are going to break. This isn't about never buying another lead again. It's about making sure every lead you do buy becomes more valuable over time. That's where visibility assets come in. So if that's the cycle, how do you break it? Not by buying more leads, not by spending more on advertising, and not by hoping Google will magically start sending more calls. You break it by changing what every completed repair produces. Instead of every job ending with a paid invoice, every job should also produce a business asset. That's the shift. Instead of renting customers, you start building visibility assets. Think about every repair you complete. The repair is over. The customer is happy. Now what happens? For most companies, nothing. The customer leaves. The relationship ends. 6 months later, when another appliance breaks, they have forgotten who helped them. Now compare that to a business that intentionally builds visibility assets. Every completed repair becomes an opportunity to collect another 5-star review. Stay connected with the customer and create another opportunity for repeat business or referrals. Now, today's repair isn't just revenue. It's making tomorrow's customer easier to acquire. That's why I believe one of the most valuable questions a service business can ask is this: what asset did this repair create? Because over time, those assets start working together. And once that happens, you're no longer starting from zero every Monday morning. That's the shift. Instead of asking, how do I get my next customer? You start asking, how can today's customer make tomorrow's customer easier to earn? And once I started looking at business this way, I realized something. There are really only two ways to grow a service business. So we've talked about the lead dependency cycle. And we've talked about changing what every completed repair produces. That led me to a realization that completely changed the way I look at marketing. There are only two ways to grow a service business. The first is to rent customers. You buy a lead. You complete the repair. Then you need another lead. So you buy another lead, complete another repair, and the cycle continues. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not against buying leads. In fact, I built a business generating and selling appliance repair leads. They absolutely have a place in your business. But if buying leads is your only entire growth strategy, you're building a business that has to start over every Monday morning. Now look at the business on the right. It still completes great repairs, but something different happens after the repair is finished. Every completed repair should do two things. First, generate revenue today. Second, make tomorrow's customer easier to acquire. If it isn't doing both, you're leaving value on the table. Because every completed repair can create something that keeps working long after the technician leaves. A review: a stronger online presence, a larger customer database, a referral, and a repeat customer. Instead of simply completing today's job, you're increasing the value of the next one. That's why I don't believe the most valuable asset in your service business is the truck, or the tools, or even the inventory. It's the relationship you've earned, because those relationships continue to produce value long after today's repair is complete. And that's the difference between renting customers and owning customer relationships. So the next question becomes, how do you actually make tomorrow's customer easier to acquire? You do it by building what I call visibility assets. Let's look at what those are. So, what exactly do I mean by visibility assets? These are the things your business owns that continue helping you attract customers long after today's repair is completed. Think about it this way. A paid lead disappears the moment you stop paying for it. A visibility asset keeps working. A 5-star review can influence hundreds of future customers. Expert Appliance Pros mentioned something to me last week. He said, "Even when I do a great job, sometimes the customer's next appliance breaks and they call someone else." That's exactly why visibility assets matter. They keep you connected after the repair is over. A well-optimized Google Business profile can generate calls every single day. Helpful photos build trust before you ever answer the phone. A website that answers customers' questions works for you 24 hours a day. Educational videos continue building authority months or even years after they are published. A customer email list lets you reconnect with people who already know and trust your business. Case studies show potential customers that you've solved problems just like theirs. And a referral program turns satisfied customers into a marketing team you never have to hire. Now, here's what's important. None of these assets are incredibly powerful by themselves. One review won't change your business. One photo won't change your business. One email won't change your business. One video won't change your business. But when you consistently build all of them, they start reinforcing each other. That's when something really interesting begins to happen. You're no longer relying on one source for customers. You're building an entire system that makes your business easier to find, easier to trust, and easier to choose. And when all of those visibility assets start working together, they create something much bigger than the individual pieces. That's what I call the visibility flywheel. So now that we know what visibility assets are, let's talk about what happens when you consistently build them. By themselves, a review is valuable. A great website is valuable. A customer database is valuable. A referral is valuable. But something changes when they all start working together. They stop acting like individual marketing tactics, and they become a system. I call that system the visibility flywheel. Think about a heavy flywheel. The very first push is the hardest. It barely moves. The second push, a little bit easier. The third, a little bit easier. Eventually, it develops momentum. And once it has momentum, it takes far less effort to keep it spinning. Your business works the same way. Every completed repair should generate another review. That review strengthens your Google Business Profile. A stronger Google Business Profile creates more visibility. More visibility creates more trust. More trust creates more direct customers. Those customers become repeat customers. They refer customers and they leave more reviews and grow your customer database. Now the flywheel turns again. And here's the beautiful part. Every part of the flywheel makes every other part stronger. Your reviews help your Google Business Profile. Your Google Business Profile sends more people to your website. Your website converts more visitors into customers. Those customers leave more reviews. They refer friends and family. They call you again the next time something breaks. Every completed repair adds another push to the flywheel. Reviews become visibility. Visibility becomes trust. Trust creates customers. Customers create reviews. And the cycle keeps getting stronger. But when you step back, something even bigger starts to appear. So far, we've been looking at individual marketing activities, reviews, your Google Business Profile, your website, your customer database, referral systems, follow-up. But I don't actually think of these as separate marketing tactics. I think of them as parts of a much larger system. I call it the customer ownership framework. Because the goal isn't simply to get more leads. The goal is to own more customer relationships. Think about it this way. Every time you buy a lead, you're renting access to a customer. But every time a customer leaves a review, calls you again, refers a friend, opens one of your emails, or remembers your company 6 months later, that relationship becomes more valuable. And eventually, your business reaches a point where today's customers help create tomorrow's customers. That's customer ownership. And that's what separates businesses that constantly chase work from businesses that steadily build momentum. The flywheel explains how momentum is built. The customer ownership framework explains why it matters. Every visibility asset you build is another step towards owning more of your future business. So what does customer ownership actually look like? It looks like something much bigger than higher Google rankings, much bigger than reviews, much bigger than a nicer website. It creates a business that's becoming more valuable every single month. Instead of asking, how many leads do I need next month? You start asking, how many customer relationships did we build this month? Because those relationships become future revenue. They become repeat customers. They become referrals. They become reviews. They become trust. They become visibility. And eventually, they become something every service business wants: predictability. Instead of hoping the phone rings, you've built systems that make it much more likely to ring. You're no longer dependent on one marketing tactic. You're building an entire ecosystem that works together. That's what I call customer ownership. And once you understand that, each visibility asset starts making a lot more sense. When you build customer ownership, you don't just create more visibility. You create a business that's becoming more valuable every single month. And that's exactly why I don't think this is really a marketing presentation at all. At this point, you may be thinking, okay, this is another marketing presentation. But honestly, I don't think this is about marketing at all. It's about ownership. Marketing is simply the tool. Ownership is the goal. Because at the end of the day, you don't really want more marketing. You want a business that's easier to grow. You want customers who remember you. You want customers who call you again. You want customers who tell their neighbors about you. You want customers who leave reviews without being asked 3 times. You want a business that becomes more valuable every year it stays in business. That's not marketing. That's ownership. The companies that build the strongest businesses don't just own trucks. They don't just own tools. They don't even just own a website. They own customer relationships. And every relationship they build makes the next customer a little easier to earn. That's why I don't think about this as an SEO strategy, or a review strategy, or an email strategy. I think about it as a customer ownership strategy. So how do you actually build customer ownership? One visibility asset at a time. So let's make this practical. Customer ownership doesn't happen overnight. It happens one visibility asset at a time. You don't have to build everything this month. You don't have to redesign your website, or launch a YouTube channel, or write blog posts, or collect 100 reviews all at once. That's overwhelming. Instead, we simply ask one question. What's the next visibility asset this business should build? Maybe it's reviews. Maybe it's your Google business profile. Maybe it's your website. Maybe it's your follow-up system. Or maybe it's your customer database. Or maybe it's working on referrals. Every business starts in a different place. But every business moves forward the same way. One asset, then another, then another. Eventually, those individual assets become the flywheel we talked about earlier. And once the flywheel begins turning, everything becomes easier. Now let's look at the visibility asset that usually creates the fastest impact. Let's start with the asset almost every successful local service business has in common: a consistent flow of 5-star reviews. So let's talk about this first visibility asset: reviews. Most business owners think reviews are about reputation. I think they're much bigger than that. Reviews are one of the few visibility assets that improve almost every part of your business. They increase trust. They improve your Google business profile. They help convert more website visitors into customers. They make people more comfortable calling you instead of your competitor. And perhaps more importantly, they continue working long after the repair is complete. Think about it. A repair you completed 6 months ago can still be helping you win customers today because of the review that customer left behind. That's incredibly when you really think about it. One repair, one review, hundreds, sometimes thousands of future homeowners may read it. That's why I don't see reviews as customer feedback. I see them as business assets. But here's the mistake I see over and over again. Most companies ask for reviews only when they remember, or only when business is slow. The companies that build momentum don't leave reviews to chance. They build systems instead. Because if reviews are one of your most valuable visibility assets, why would you rely on memory to collect them? The goal isn't to chase reviews. The goal is to build a business where collecting reviews become part of the customer experience. Every completed repair creates another opportunity to strengthen your reputation, another opportunity to improve your visibility, and another opportunity to make tomorrow's customer easier to acquire. So once you start consistently generating reviews, where do they create the biggest impact? For most local service businesses, it's your Google business profile. So once you've built a steady flow of reviews, those reviews need somewhere to work. And for most local service businesses, that's your Google business profile. I actually think your Google business profile has become your digital storefront. Now I know what some of you might be thinking. I don't have a storefront. You're right. Your technicians go to the customer's home. But before most homeowners invite you into their home, they visit yours. Not your physical building, your digital one. They look at your reviews. They look at your rating. They look at your photos. They read your business description. They compare you against 3 or 4 other companies. And in many cases, they decide whether to call you before they even visit your website. That's why I believe your Google business profile is one of the most valuable visibility assets you own, because it's working 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, helping customers decide whether you're the company they can trust. And here's something I want you to think about. Every review we talked about on the previous slide makes this visibility asset stronger. Every photo from a completed repair makes the visibility asset stronger. Every update, every completed job, every satisfied customer adds another layer of trust. This is why the flywheel works. One visibility asset strengthens another. They are no longer independent marketing activities. They are working together. That's what creates momentum. But here's something I see all the time. A homeowner finds an appliance repair company on Google, like what they see, clicks over to the website, and then the momentum stops. Let's talk about why your website is still one of your most important visibility assets. So after a homeowner finds you on Google, there's a good chance they'll do one more thing. They'll click your website. And this is where I see a lot of service businesses lose customers. Not because they aren't great technicians, but because their website doesn't reinforce the trust they've already built. I don't think your website exists just to rank on Google. I think your website exists to answer the customer's final questions. Can I trust these people? Do they actually do this type of repair? Have they helped someone like me before? Are they local? Will they answer the phone? Should I call them or the next company on the list? A great website quietly answers all those questions. It doesn't have to be flashy. It doesn't have to win design awards. It simply needs to reduce uncertainty. Think about it. Every review you've collected, every completed repair, every photo, every case study, every helpful article can strengthen your website. Now, your website isn't just an online brochure. It's another visibility asset. Working 24 hours a day, building trust before the phone ever rings. Your website doesn't have to convince everyone to hire you. It simply has to remove enough uncertainty for the right customer to call. This is exactly how homeowners behave. They aren't looking for the perfect website. They're looking for enough confidence to stop searching. And once again, the flywheel gets a little stronger. But here's the challenge. Even if someone has a great experience, even if they trust you, most homeowners aren't thinking about appliance repair again tomorrow. In fact, they're probably hoping they don't need you for years. So how do you stay connected without becoming annoying? That's where another visibility asset becomes incredibly valuable. So let's think about what happens after you've completed a great repair. The appliance is working, the customer is happy, they've left you a 5-star review. Now what? For most businesses, that's where the relationship ends. But I think that's a missed opportunity. One satisfied customer doesn't just represent one repair. They represent future repairs, future recommendations, future referrals, one conversation at church, one recommendation to a neighbor, one post on Facebook. One family remembers whose refrigerator breaks next month. That's why I don't think referrals are luck. I think they are the result of building an experience people naturally want to talk about. The best referral engine isn't built with gimmicks. It's built with trust, great communication, a professional experience, following up after the repair, and staying connected with your customers long after you've collected the payment. Because every time someone recommends your company, something incredibly happens. You're no longer borrowing someone else's trust. You're benefiting from trust you've already earned. That's one of the highest value visibility assets a business can build. Because referred customers already believe you're the right choice before they ever call. So now let's step back and look at the bigger picture one more time. Let's come back to where we started. Earlier in the presentation, I introduced the visibility flywheel. At that point, it was just a diagram. Now, every part of it means something. Reviews strengthen your Google business profile. Your Google business profile builds visibility. Your website converts trust into customers. Those customers leave reviews. They refer friends and family. Your customer database grows. Your visibility assets become stronger. The flywheel turns again. And every completed repair adds another push. That's why this isn't about one marketing tactic. It's about building a business that becomes more valuable every single month. Eventually, you're no longer asking, where am I going to buy my next customer? You're asking, how can today's customer help create tomorrow's customer? That's the difference between renting customers and building customer ownership. So we've spent the last several minutes talking about the visibility assets, reviews, your Google business profile, your website, your customer database, referrals. Each one is valuable on its own. But that's actually the wrong way to think about them. The real power comes when they begin working together. A review strengthens your Google business profile. Your Google business profile sends more customers to your website. Your website converts more visitors into customers. And those customers leave more reviews. They join your customer database. They refer friends and family. Every visibility asset makes the next one stronger. That's why I call this a visibility system, not a collection of marketing tactics. Individually, each asset is powerful. Together, they become unstoppable. So the next question becomes, how do you actually build all of this without feeling overwhelmed? The answer is you don't build everything at once. One of the biggest mistakes I see business owners make is trying to fix everything in a single weekend. New website, more reviews, SEO, videos, email marketing, a referral program. It's too much. Instead, we build one visibility asset at a time. Each asset makes the next one easier. Each improvement creates another opportunity. And eventually, those small improvements stop feeling small. They begin compounding. Just like investing, the first few months don't look dramatic, but over time, the gap between businesses that build visibility assets and the businesses that keep buying leads gets bigger every single year. Momentum replaces effort. That's what we're trying to build. And if you're wondering whether this actually works, I want to introduce you to someone who's lived it. This is my friend Tristan with Florida Appliance King. He's someone I've had the privilege of working with for years. So far, we've talked about ideas. Now I want to show you what this looks like in the real world. This is Appliance King in South Florida. When he moved to Florida in 2019, he wasn't taking over a family business. He wasn't buying an established business. He started as one technician, one pickup truck, and no customer database. Like most service businesses, he was buying leads to keep the phone ringing. Every job had to be earned. Every week started from zero. But over time, something changed. Instead of thinking only about the next repair, without even realizing it at first, he started building visibility assets. He built a professional website. He built a strong Google business profile. He collected reviews. He stayed connected with past customers. He created a customer database, and little by little, those assets began working together. Today, he has an own customer database of nearly 5,000 customers. He's completed nearly 6,000 jobs. He's built a 5-star reputation. And probably the most important part, he's no longer relying only on purchase leads. Today, every completed repair helps create the next one. That's the power of customer ownership. He didn't just build an appliance repair business. He built a business that became more valuable after every completed repair. Now, I want to be very clear about something. This didn't happen overnight. It wasn't one magic marketing campaign. It wasn't one viral Facebook post. It wasn't one SEO trick. It happened because every completed repair added another asset to his business. One review, one customer, one referral, one relationship at a time. That's how real businesses compound. I've noticed something over the years. Most appliance repair companies don't fail because they're bad technicians. In fact, many of the best technicians I know struggle to grow their business. Why? Because fixing appliances and building a business are two different skills. A technician focuses on today's repair. A business owner thinks about next year's business. A technician asks, how do I fix this refrigerator? A business owner asks, how do I make sure this customer remembers me the next time something breaks? A technician completes the repair. A business owner builds an asset. Neither mindset is wrong. But if your goal is to build a company with multiple trucks, multiple technicians, and a business that's worth something one day, you have to begin thinking differently. That's what customer ownership really is. It's making the shift from completing repairs to building a business. So if you're starting today, where would you begin? Here's exactly how I'd spend the first 90 days. So after everything we've talked about today, where do you actually start? Not with everything, but with the fundamentals. The first 90 days aren't about trying to become the biggest company in town. They're about building your foundation. First, we optimize your Google business profile so you're putting your best foot forward. Next, we build a review system that works consistently instead of relying on memory. Then, we strengthen the visibility assets that matter most for your business. We improve your online presence. We organize your customer database. We begin building simple systems that keep you connected with past customers. By the end of those first 90 days, you haven't just improved your marketing, you've started building momentum. Because every improvement makes the next improvement easier. That's the entire goal. Not overnight success, but instead compounding progress. So after everything we've talked about today, you may be wondering, where do I actually stand? That's exactly why I created a visibility snapshot. Because before you invest another dollar in marketing, you should understand where your biggest opportunities are. The snapshot isn't a sales pitch, it's a blueprint. We look at your Google business profile, your reviews, your website, your visibility assets, your customer journey, and we identify what's helping your business grow and what's holding it back. Sometimes the biggest opportunity isn't SEO. Sometimes it's reviews. Sometimes it's follow-up. Sometimes it's your website. Sometimes it's something completely different. The goal isn't to guess. The goal is clarity. Because once you know where you are, you can build a plan that actually fits your business. And that's really what this presentation has been about from the very beginning. If there's one thing I hope you take away from today's presentation, it's this. You don't need another marketing trick. You don't need another lead source. You don't need another shiny object. You need clarity. Clarity about where your business is today. Clarity about which visibility asset should be built next. Clarity about how to stop renting customers and start building customer ownership. That's exactly why we begin with the visibility snapshot. Not because every business needs the same solution, but because every business deserves the right solution. So if you're ready, I'd love to help you discover where your next biggest opportunity is. Let's build your visibility assets. Let's build your flywheel. And let's build a business that becomes more valuable after every completed repair. One last thing before we wrap up. Everything you've seen today isn't just something I teach. It's something I'm building myself. As part of the Appliance Experts lead generation service, our Google business profiles, our websites, our content, our visibility assets are all built using the exact same customer ownership framework I shared with you today. So I'm not asking you to try a theory. I'm inviting you to build something I'm building right alongside you. Because I believe the future belongs to businesses that stop renting customers and start building assets they own. Thank you.